Good evening. In our news bulletin for this evening, a newly published SBC report on Unga and Niue reveals a drop in numbers and size. Oceania Customs Organisation works with Niue Customs to update legislation and custom border processes. Border security tighten up enforcement at the airport with the confiscation of restricted items from a departing passenger. A report commissioned by the Pacific Community on Niue's declining Unga population has adopted several management strategies to sustain Unga numbers and control overharvesting. Several awareness campaigns have alerted on the continuing decline of Unga numbers and harvesting of undersized Ungas.
We went into the people that are leaving the island and had a look at the boxes that were going or leaving from the island. And within those couple of months that we did this survey, we've seen a lot of the ungas that have been taken off the island. And in so much that it prompted us to have a look at the management of this iconic creature for us. We're looking at a lot of the adult ungas. From the findings, we didn't find. We only found a lot of the small ungas, and they are not into the reproductive stages. And that has caused us to have a look into stopping any of these ungas from being taken overseas.
This report was compiled over a 2-month period, and there are those who said that the research may have been done when the unga was in hibernation. There are also those who have backed the research as something Niue should have done long before now.
Planning to have another survey at the end of this year or beginning of next year. Given that it's now 2 years, and we would like to go back again and have a look at it. And there's a possibility also looking at it another year after that, just to see the population and the stock status. Afterwards, we will determine what we will do. Either we look at numbers, restrictions, or keep it as a ban from now until we can see or we are satisfied that the unga population can continue.
The Niue government implemented a policy a few years ago to restrict the control of the number of ungas taken out of Niue, which is currently in place, and the ban remains in force for the export of unga. Port and border authorities have been in robust discussions this week with representatives from the Oceania Customs Organisation looking at customs functions and adapting to changes in line with global perspectives. OCO is piloting projects in 3 small island administrations that includes Niue, Kiribati and Tuvalu. Taking a custom-centric approach could see the introduction of a new concept that has been called single window. Another component of this visit involves discussions around the need to review and update legislation that will help strengthen operations at the border.
A single window is basically a convergence of all information under one entry point, whereby all information is either centralized through customs and disseminated to either shipping agencies or business agencies for the purpose of streamlining information sharing. Apart from that, you will also realize that across not only Niue but other Pacific Island countries, there's a lot of bottlenecks in terms of information sharing. Single window provides the ability for all information to come together in one and be disseminated accordingly in a systematic manner. It's important that an integrated policy framework needs to be put in place. But having said that, all agencies need to come together and agree that this will be the way forward, because all agencies have got different requirements, they are governed separately, but to be able to harmonize working processes, working systems for them to be able to function under one unit is easier said than done. Having a legal framework that's able to support that is important moving forward. In that way, it not only helps business, it also helps government agencies to provide their level of assurance in terms of trade facilitation.
A consultation was held with border authorities yesterday and a session with private sector later in the afternoon Customs authorities believe that there is a need for consultation with those who will be directly affected or impacted by any proposed changes.
I think from private sector's side of things, it provides them with some level of certainty. There's some level of assurance in terms of their cargo coming in. They know how long it'll take them, what the regulatory requirements they need to fulfill in order for them to be able to dish out whatever legislative requirements that are there under law for them to undertake it. Because if you make compliance easy, it'll be also easier for them to be able to fulfill those requirements. And that's one of the underlying issues here.
The aim is to modernize Niue's customs operations and processes that will require a unified approach and connectivity within agencies supported by robust legislation. For OCO, one of the tasks that is being undertaken is the scoping portion of this project is to research what laws govern custom operations on the island and any other related laws and cross-cutting issues.
It's important that we go back to the fact that Niue is currently operating on a 1966 piece of customs legislation. And it's been 50 years, and you'd agree with me that over that time period, there's been a lot of leaps and bounds in the way technology has come about, as well as in relation to transport. And because of that, customs now operates in an environment that is totally different and more volatile than it was back in 1966. So the reason why we need to update the legislation is to ensure that we can cater for all the risks as well as all the issues that are arising on a day-to-day basis that hinders or causes issues with relation to customs powers and customs enforcement. I think it's important that we also stress customs' role at the border. It's not just in relation to collecting revenue. Customs has three key roles. Revenue, of course, is one of them. The other is trade and travel facilitation and security of the community. So in bringing this bill in, we are also trying to ensure that all other modernization, all other issues that come about in the future, trying to future-proof it and ensure that customs has the agility and mobility that they need in order to respond to anything that happens in the near future.
The new bill will ensure mechanisms are in place where customs functions can be delegated through authorization of other officers that will assist in areas where authority is given to customs to detain or withhold goods that may be of interest. At the moment, there is no set time frame for the review of the customs bill to be completed, but there is an urgency. However, due diligence is required so the legislation is fit for purpose in Niue. Last Friday, Niue's border security confiscated prohibited items from leaving Niue at the airport. It is understood that the confiscated materials consisted of 8 kilograms of various rocks and seashells that were packed in passengers' luggage, and authorities say they were still wet and presented a hazard wherever their destination was.
Whilst we were doing the surveillance on our border controls on Unga Band, surveying the band, we came across, or one of the officers came across live coral. And these are some of the tourists that have been here for a week. And they decided to take on board or put in their luggage some live corals, and which is not accepted, and it is banned from taking across live coral from anywhere around. So when we came across that, we confiscated that, and we have taken actions towards that activity that has been picked up. There are notices, and they have been posted around, especially on the quarantine area for our border controls. And on that walls, you see that live corals, live seashells, or any live animals are prohibited from being exported or taken overseas. The only prevention that we can take is to stop these people from doing it and put more awareness, especially work with the tourism office to get people aware that these are the things that they are not allowed to do or to take. It's a good sign that we are not only looking for ungas itself, but we are also looking for other things that are not supposed to be taken off the island.
James Tafatu from the Fisheries Office could not confirm the nationality of the two people who were caught, but the message is clear that visitors need to be aware of the rules and regulations, such as the Biosecurity Act that safeguards the flora and fauna niue. If in doubt, it is always best to check first and avoid having goods confiscated at the border. According to James Tafatu, teams are restricted about what law they can enforce on the spot, but he is hoping that a law will enable them to hand out infringement notices or fines on the spot in future. The findings and confiscation of these prohibited items is an indication of how Niue has upgraded its border security measures to match those of other countries. And that concludes our news bulletin for this evening. You can join us again for our next news bulletin on Thursday.